thinking about what they want to get done, and very little time thinking about how to get their teams to execute that well. Okay? Or another way to say that is they spend a lot of time on strategy and they spend much less time on the execution phase of the business. I'm answering 5, I think, very fundamental questions to the role of the CEO. Hopefully I'll give you some nuggets to take away, things you can do in your business today. And then as you go from about 20 to 100 or so employees, if you do it right, you take the time to hand off each of those hats that you wear to somebody who's focused in that area, who knows more about that particular area, be it sales, marketing, finance, than you do. Such that you wake up at 100 employees or so, and there becomes this full-time CEO role. Now, some of you grew into it. Some of you get placed into it. Small public company now owes the bank $165 million. Bank wants their money back, and I don't have a CEO. And I start looking around the table. And everybody else except me is collecting Social Security. So I know where this one's going, right? So an hour later, I'm the CEO of a public company in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so now what? Now, we didn't have the right executives in place. How do I find people that want to come join me on an adventure when we owe the bank all this money and there's a lot of uncertainty? And then how do I start building a culture? Black Box had been put together from literally 100 acquisitions. The standard pitch to every owner was, hey, you're making $2 million in EBITDA. We're going to buy you. You can keep running your business however you run it, as long as you send us that $2 million in EBITDA check. Know 3 things before they can do anything for you. They need to know what needs to be done. Everybody's pretty clear on that. Hey, I want $10 million in revenue. I want you to grow revenue. I want you to save money. I want you to build a new product. The what's pretty easy. Most people never communicate the next 2, though. They never communicate the why. What is in it for that person? What is the motivation? What's it going to do for the company? Why they should do what you want them to do. And then the third thing you got to make sure of is that they know how to do it. And if they don't know how to do it, it's your responsibility to find the people that can provide them that training. Second thing that needs to be communicated is a set of what I call differentiated values. These are not expected values, honesty, okay? I say it's not a value. It doesn't provide any value if you can't imagine the opposite, a company running under the opposite of the value. So honesty, can you imagine a company saying, we value dishonesty? No, okay? Your recruiting's got to be a continuous process. You say, Joel, I don't have time for that. I don't have enough people to worry about that. Well, even if you have 50, most organizations have a lot of shareholder data. They collect very little data about customers and employees. But you got to balance that. Then internally, you've got a triangle of tension there in your organization between sales, marketing, and whatever product or service delivery you have. I mean, one of my favorite questions is, how do I get sales and marketing to get along? How do you get dogs and cats to get along? They don't get along. They coexist. That's about the best you can hope to do because they're different animals, right? I draw a ship on the board, and I don't draw very well, as you see. And I draw the water line. And I say, hey, if you're my VP of sales, you get to make all the decisions in the sales category that are above the water line. And what I mean by that if you make this decision, it's not going to sink the ship if you get it wrong, okay? Now, if you think the decision might be below the waterline, then you need to come talk to me. But then it's an exercise about where that waterline is. So if my VP of sales walks in and says, hey, I've got this customer, I want to give them a 10% discount, what do you think? I'm going to say, hey, that's way above the waterline. Is the word accountable gets thrown around. And most of the time, you hear people talking about holding people accountable in the news, in the press. What does it really mean? They just want to fire somebody, right? Somebody that they don't have control over. So I tell people, instead of using the word accountable, because it kind of has lost its meaning to me, I substitute the word objective reality. My sales guy gave me the number 2 weeks into the quarter. 9 out of 10 quarters, he got the number within 3%. And these were enterprise sales. These are big deals. People will tell you, how do you predict big deals? Well, he taught his team how to do it. The only quarter he missed was the quarter Lehman Brothers failed. Okay, sometimes shit happens, right? I mean, we were in the middle of that quarter. Lehman closed their doors, and next week we saw our metrics all just change, right? And we knew something was up, right? But 9 out of 10 quarters, he told me what the revenue number was going to be 12 weeks in advance. And maybe it's more how not to fire. Get as short and sweet as possible, but treat them with respect. These companies that fire people and say, go get your stuff, and like suddenly they're a criminal because you fired them. No, they're not a criminal because you fired them. I mean, if they were a criminal, yes, you can do that. But if the reason you're firing them is just, you need to fire people, you have lack of performance, whatever, treat them with respect. Thank you very much.